Hey everyone, we're here to talk about Malvaceae. This is known as the mallow family. Sometimes it's actually known as the cheese family as well, which is kind of funny. All right, let's jump right into it. The habit of this family is pretty diverse, actually. We see full-on trees, woody structures, all the way down to small herbs, annuals or perennials. Something that we tend to see in this family is Palmate Venation, and oftentimes palmately lobed leaves, as you can see in this picture. Now, this one, if you look really closely, it looks kind of fuzzy or velvety. Well, when we zoom in on that, we see that the hairs on members of this family are branched. They're many times branched at their base. This is a type of hair that's called stellate. And when all of the hairs on a plant have this, we would say this plant has stellate vestiture. And just to have a little diagram, from a side view, what that would look like if this line that I just drew in green is the leaf surface, a single hair looks like this. Almost kind of looks like I just drew, 6 hairs. But it's not. It's one hair that's branched many times at its base. That's what a stellate hair is. You might be wearing a member of Malvaceae right now. Actually, cotton is in this family. You don't need to know. This is not a required genus or anything, but it's just kind of a fun fact. Here are the capsules of it, and those fluffy parts that are turned into threads are actually sort of seed appendages. Here are some cotton fields. This is a very, very economically important and culturally important plant. There are those capsules. Okay, so let's look at these flowers up close. There's something that's really, really distinctive about the flowers of Malvaceae. It's so nice because there are very, very few other families in the world who do this, especially as prominently as members of this family. It's this thing right here. This is a tube. Notice the tube sort of starts at the base and it ends at all of these. Well, these are anthers, which means that this part at the bottom is the filaments. But what we see in this family is that all of the filaments are fused into what we call a filament tube. Filament tubes are often prominent, obvious, and so this can be a really nice, easy family to identify, at least sometimes. Here's some other looks of some members of the family that have that filament tube. And I want to apply a term to that. When you've got sort of one unit of an andrecium, meaning they're all fused into this one structure, we call that a monadelphous andrecium. This is associated with the filament tube. I should have wrote this on the last slide. Okay. Now, we can actually start to talk about the floral formula. So members of this family, as we can kind of see from this picture, they're going to have the actinomorphic symmetry. They tend to have 5 fused sepals and 5 petals. Their stamens, as you can see from the last picture, and maybe this one too, they're going to have many stamens. This is an always thing. And like we talked about, those filaments are fused, and so we need to give them a conation symbol. Also, the very base of the filament tube is fused to those 5 free petals, interestingly. The gynoecium varies a little bit. There's a variable number of carpels, but they're always going to be fused. The numbers just vary by genus, usually. But they're always going to be of a superior ovary. All right, here's another just sort of close-up look at a filament tube. All those free anthers on top, but the filaments fused. Here's a nice longitudinal section through one. So what happens is, since there's still a whorl, there's a whole floral whorl inside of that andrecium, the gynoecium actually comes up through the middle of the andrecium. And what you have is a style that goes right up through the entire filament tube and then out the top. So in theory, some of these are probably stigmas that we are kind of just hard to tell from this picture right now. Another member of the family. Just to show you some diversity, you can really clearly see those 5 fused sepals here and that very prominent filament tube. This one you can more clearly see the stigmas that are coming up through. Again, if we had X-ray vision, we would see that stigma coming up all the way through that filament tube. There's just some pictures of members of Malvaceae from our HSU greenhouse. And some more diversity. Okay, the fruits I had said earlier in light of cotton that they have capsules, well, that's only sometimes. Members of this family are going to have either capsules, like we talked about, or schizocarps. That's what we're seeing in this picture. So this whole unit, sort of before, imagine this whole thing kind of intact with all of those units still attached. That's what sort of this one down here probably looks like, but it's being blocked by the sepals. Well, this whole structure is the schizocarp. These units in here, these things, of which I said they used to fill up this whole schizocarp, these are what I have pulled out here, and these are called the mericarps. Those are the single-seeded units of the schizocarp that are the parts that get dispersed. Oops. Okay, you have only one required genus in this family. It's called hibiscus. Maybe you've heard of it before. It's a really charismatic flower because it's really large. And, of course, at least in this one, very brightly colored. Oftentimes they are red like this. But they come in most colors, actually. So genus, hibiscus. The common name is also hibiscus for this genus, which is convenient. Like I said, we already know the floral formula for the family, but the one part that varies in the family was the gynoecium, and just so you know, hibiscus has 5 fused carpels for their gynoecium. Here's just another look. Hummingbirds love them, especially because of that bright color. They produce a really large amount of nectar, and hummingbirds are able to probe with that long beak kind of in between the petals. Here's just another look of a hibiscus. These pictures were taken at the HSU greenhouse. And back to the 5 carpels, you can very clearly tell in this picture that we do have 5 free stigmas, which is a sign that they probably had 5 fused carpels. You probably could have figured that out on your own. And just so you know, the habit of hibiscus is woody. Usually we've got shrubby members of this family. Someone has sort of turned this into an ornamental topiary. And I think that's my last slide. See you next time.